Today, I will answer a list of car questions, and this quiz will tell me what kind of a man I am. The engine light comes up on your dash. What's the first thing that you're going to do? I'll try to get someone to take a look this weekend. It's probably not the best solution because the engine light usually means something serious, and driving the car until the weekend could be detrimental to the engine. Take it in to get fixed sounds pretty reasonable. Cover it with a piece of electrical tape will definitely remove the light. And take a look under the hood when I get home is also another great option, but I honestly don't know enough about engines at this point, so I probably wouldn't be able to fix anything, especially if I don't know what the problem is. So my answer would be take it in to get fixed as soon as possible so you don't mess anything up. The second question, if someone asks you to explain the difference between torque and horsepower, could you do it? That's a good question, and I don't know. The more torque you have, the more power you have to tow things and to accelerate from zero, and the horsepower relates to the overall power of the car and the top speed that it can achieve. That's the basic explanation that I can think of off the top of my head, and I think that I could say that I know the gist, right? And please let me know if I don't know the gist. If you had the option, which of these muscle cars would you choose? Tom's Charger from Fast and Furious is obviously extremely cool and modified, so that's definitely a good pick. The Chevy Camaro is also a really cool car. I actually reviewed the SS from 2020 on my channel, so you can also check out that video. And I honestly had to Google the Boss 429 Mustang because I didn't know exactly what it looks like, but depending on the pictures, I think that would be my choice. I always kind of preferred Mustangs among the muscle cars, and these old school Mustangs are like the definition of a cool looking coupe to me. So my answer in this question would be a 69 Boss 429. Even if you're not a Ford guy, there must be a Ford you like more than the others. Tell us which one you'd pick. I can already see that this quiz was probably made from someone in US because there's a lot of American cars here, but let's see. The 2020 Ford Focus, the 2005 Ford GT, Ford Taurus, which I don't even know because it's probably a US car, and the 1908 Model T. Even though that I really like the looks of the Ford Focus from 2020, obviously I will pick a Ford GT. It's a Ford GT, right? Okay, next up. You just hit a brutal pothole in the middle of nowhere and your tire went as flat as a pancake. Can you fix it yourself? I took a course one, so maybe I'll call for some roadside assistance. Nah, I'm not technical like that. And of course, yeah, I can change the tire, so I'll just click of course. Next question. Have you ever changed your own oil? I'll be honest with you, I've never done this before, but I know that you can do it yourself. So I have to pick of course not, but I wish I did it already and I'm pretty sure that I'll do it soon. Have you ever backed into a completely stationary object like a wall or a parked car? I know I scraped a front bumper when I was reversing one time in the dark because I didn't see a boulder on the roadside, but I never backed into anything. So the answer is never. Do you know the difference between the 10W30 motor oil and the 0W20? One works better in the cold. I get the basics of it, yeah, no, and the numbers represent the viscosity of the oil in cold and warm temperature. The last one is definitely the answer because these numbers actually do present the viscosity, although the first answer, one works better in the cold, would also be kind of correct. So the first motor oil here, the 1030, would be thicker than the 020 both in winter and in summer. Next up, are you a Chevy guy? What's the best car that they ever made? And I honestly don't know Chevys well enough to be able to pick between those, so I've seen the 1990 Corvette Z01 before and I think it's a really cool car, but it's probably not one of my favorites. The Chevy Monte Carlo also had a couple of interesting generations and I think that the SS looks really badass, but honestly the 63 Stingray is just the coolest in my opinion and therefore I will pick this one. Not every auto manufacturer made it to the present. What defunct company was the best? Again, all American cars, so this is a pretty tough choice for me, but I do think that the DeLorean made a really cool car, but the Plymouth had a Prowler. So I did a bit of Googling and I instantly saw that a Saturn was kind of an American brand of Opel. As I said, the Plymouth had a Prowler, but they also had some really cool muscle cars, the Barracuda and the Superbird, so my answer is definitely Plymouth. Next question. What was the best car Dodge ever produced? The 92 Viper is obviously really cool and I think it packed a V10 if I'm not mistaken. The Omni seems like a family hatchback and I never heard of it, but the 70s Challenger RT is also really cool. So for me and probably everyone else, this is a decision between the Viper and the Challenger, and I personally would pick a Challenger. Which Japanese automaker produces the best car in your opinion? My parents currently own a Toyota and a Honda, which seems like a reasonable decision in my opinion. Toyota obviously has some cool cars with the Supra, the GR Yaris, the GR86 now. The Nissan has the Z line and the GTR line, which are obviously also really cool. I honestly don't know any Isuzus because they're basically non-existent in Europe, and Honda is also really cool. I love the new Civic Type R, but among these I think I have to pick Toyota. You can get a V4 engine, a V6 engine, a V8 engine, or even a V12. Do you know what those numbers mean? How big the engine is, how strong the engine is, something with horsepower, I bet, and it's just a number of cylinders. Yeah, it's a number of cylinders. Next question. Can you replace a car battery? I'd rather not. How hard could it be? I have no idea, and I can. So I'll select how hard could it be because I think the whole thing is disconnecting the terminals and replacing the battery, but I may be mistaken, but I'm sticking with with this one. So, how often do you change your oil anyway? At the moment, I don't have to drive that much because I work from home. I'm also a student, so I don't have a job that I need to get to every day. So, I change my oil every year. Volkswagen has made some iconic cars over the years. What's your favorite? Volkswagen Beetle, Volkswagen Golf, Volkswagen Buzz, or Volkswagen Jetta? Now, I have a huge appreciation for the first Beetle because it was designed by Ferdinand Porsche and it's a really iconic car. But among these, I would pick a Volkswagen Golf because there's a Golf GTI, Golf R, and those hatchbacks are really cool in my opinion. Next up, have you ever replaced your own windshield wiper blades? Fortunately, I didn't have to replace mine yet, so I haven't had to try. Sometimes your foot just seems a little heavy, doesn't it? Have you ever gotten a speeding ticket? And I do have one speeding ticket on my record. And it's actually a funny story because it was the first day when I bought my first car, the Volkswagen Passat that I still own now. I was casually driving home on some country roads and through some villages. A section of the road came up where there's no houses and no sidewalks on the side. It's basically just a road, and the speed limit there could actually be 90 kilometers an hour like it usually is here in Slovenia. But that part of the road was technically still a part of the village that I just drove through, and I was just switching between the third and the fourth gear to see where the car rides the nicest in those speeds. So at that moment I was driving 62 kilometers an hour instead of 50, and the police officer was waiting for me right at the end of that road, and I got a ticket on my first day of driving my new car for around 120 euros. Pretty unfortunate, but a lesson quickly learned. So my answer here would be a long time ago. Next up, the problem with a lot of cars is that they look exactly the same. Which unusual car did you like the most? Dodge Prowler, PT Cruiser, Mini, or the DeLorean? The Dodge Prowler is obviously really cool, the PT Cruiser is here on the picture, and the DeLorean is also pretty cool. Among these, I think that the Prowler looks the most unique, but I'd pick the Mini because I heard that they're really cool cars to drive, and I hope that I get to review one very soon. Here we go. Britain cranks out some pretty great cars. Which manufacturer makes the best ones? Finally, a question about European cars, so let's get into it. Jaguar makes some cool cars, but I don't think that they're the best. Rolls-Royces are obviously really luxurious and massive cars. I think that Land Rovers look really cool, and Aston Martins are obviously Aston Martins. Among these, I think the best ones are Aston Martins. Next up, would you ever buy a Tesla? I know that many cars hate Teslas because of their poor build quality and stuff, but I really appreciate the technology advancements that they're making, and I know that their cars are insanely fast, so I think that I'll buy one in the future definitely. Next up, which Honda would you most want to drive? I would definitely the most like to drive the Honda Civic, preferably the Type R. If your tires are a little low, you can fill them at some gas stations. Do you know the correct PSI for yours? I've literally changed tires on my car from the summer tires to the winter tires 2 days ago. I went to the gas station later to make sure that they're filled correctly. I don't know the PSI, but I do know that I fill my cars up to 2.4 bars. Cars are off the table. What else would you be driving instead? Truck, minivan, scooter, or an SUV? I mean, I still consider all of these except a scooter as cars, but just different body styles, and among these I would probably pick an SUV. Overall, who is the best auto manufacturer in the world today? Ford, GM, Volkswagen, or Toyota? Now that's a tough one. I honestly wouldn't say Ford or GM because I don't think that Americans make the best cars. Volkswagen is obviously European and I even drive a Volkswagen, so it would make the most sense for me to pick Volkswagen, but I'm not some sort of a fanboy, and I probably won't pick Volkswagen because it doesn't say Volkswagen Group. So if they meant the Volkswagen Group, I would definitely pick them because they also have many other cool brands, Porsche, Bugatti, Rimac, and all the other stuff. I'm guessing that they meant just the Volkswagen brand, and I don't think that they make the best cars, so in that case I'll pick Toyota. There are two kinds of cars in the world, one's for regular people and one's for the super rich. All of these cars look pretty insane. The Lamborghini Veneno Roadster is obviously really unique. The Koenigsegg is the least eye-catching among these. The Aston Martin Valkyrie seems like it could go directly on a track, but to me the Bugatti La Voiture Noire seems the coolest, so I'll pick the Bugatti. Next question. There are a few cars that you can buy brand new under the $15,000. Which one is the most reliable? Honestly, among these cars, my guess would be that the most reliable is a Nissan, but I don't know, I have no idea. How often do you vacuum or car clean? I vacuum and clean my car when I think it needs it, and that's at least monthly, so in this case I'll pick monthly. Next up, could you handle being a NASCAR driver? I don't know what these guys are going through on a daily basis, so I definitely won't pick definitely, not a chance, also not because I think that I could try it, and the answer is definitely it could be fun to try. Next question is pretty simple, sedan, coupe, or a convertible? But as you can see, there's also a roadster here, but me personally, I'm a coupe kind of guy, so I'm picking coupe. And that's the end of the quiz. Here's the solution that we found. I'm got Mr. Fix-It. Ooh, which is pretty good. I'm pretty proud of myself. I don't fix my car a lot, so I'm not sure if I really deserve this, but let's see. There's no doubt about it. Based on your answers, you're the kind of guy who's always taking things apart and putting them together. Yeah, You may not be a mechanic, definitely, but you know your way around the garage. Yeah, I like to think so. If your car needs a tire changed, an oil change, or a simple tune-up, you at least know where to start. You understand the value of knowing things and getting a job done right. Definitely agree with these last two statements, so I would say that this grade is relatively accurate. I like to think that I know some things about cars and I know where to start, as it says here, but I'm definitely not a mechanic. I really admire those guys and I want to learn about engines and about cars much more. Now it's time for you to head over to zoo.com, a pretty weird place to take a car quiz, I know, but the link is in description. Complete the quiz and let me know what kind of the man you are in the comments below. Please like this video if you enjoyed it because it really helps me out, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more car videos like this one.